What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm super excited to finally be bringing you guys my very first competitive team building guide for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. If competitive play is something you're interested in and you want to know more about, think about leaving a like on this video, think about dropping a comment or a sub, and just let me know if this is the type of video you want to see. I do not mind making more videos like this. I really want to help you guys get better, and again, if this is the type of stuff you like, just let me know and we'll make more of it. I really do think that team building is something that a lot of people think is like really scary at the start, but I have 3 tips that if you guys follow these 3 tips, you guys are going to make absolutely amazing teams, and you're going to be able to be a lot better, a lot faster than other people that are just using whatever the heck they want. So the very first tip I have is have multiple solid lead options. Now, I didn't say have a really good lead Pokemon, because if you have just one lead Pokemon, like let's say you want to play a weather team and you're leading with like a Tyranitar or a Ninetales or a Torkoal, well, that kind of sends like a telegraph to your opponent in the team preview that you have to lead with this one thing. And if they know what they're going to lead with, they're going to counter you right off the bat, and you're going to be playing from behind basically for the first 3 to 4 turns of the game, which is going to put you in a much, more disadvantageous situation than if you had multiple other solid lead options. This is going to be a trend moving forward in this video where I say, if there's something you want to do right, you should double up on it. If there's something you want to, make sure you don't lose to, make sure to double up on that. Double up on your strengths, double up on your weaknesses. I'll go more into that a little bit later on into the video. But yeah, multiple solid lead options. Those are things like weather setters. Those are things like stealth rock users, taunt users, U-turn users, intimidate users, light screen, reflect users. All those Pokemon that have a really big advantage at the very start of the game, or even Pokemon that are just like sashed mons. If you have a sash and you don't really have like correct coverage for like, hazards like rocks, just lead with your sash mon. It's always a solid option. And the more solid lead options you have, the harder it's going to be for your opponent to guess what they're doing. And who knows, you might even have such like a wide variety of lead options. If they have only 1 or 2, you might be able to pin them right off the bat and have a really good, first 3 to 4 turns of the game. The second big thing that I should say that you should actually be working on when you're really building your team, we will get into building the team, we will get into the battles, I promise. The second biggest thing is actually having correct respect for hazard moves. Now, hazard moves, for those of you guys who don't know, are things like Stealth Rock, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Sticky Web. Those are the big moves in singles. The reason those are so good is because every time you send out a Pokemon or switch, the new Pokemon comes in, takes damage, gets poisoned, gets speed dropped by Sticky Web. That's really big. And I personally am a type of player that I don't really like to play those like super stally games. I like to play a lot more aggressive. So when I say the second rule is have respect for those options, it's not really saying you have to set them turn 1. You could totally have them. Like there's a bunch of Pokemon that get them. Like basically we're gonna build a team that has both options for them and options to deal with them. But I really do think you have to have a correct respect for them. So that's like saying you should have a Stealth Rock user, but you should also have a Rapid Spin user. Rapid Spin, for those who don't know, gets rid of all the hazards on the field and gives your user a +1 speed boost. And if you don't want to set hazards yourself, you can also use a Defog user. Defog is going to get rid of all of the hazards on the field, both yours and your opponent's. And I would highly recommend you at least fit one of those Pokemon, if not more. Remember when I said you should be doubling up on your strengths and weaknesses. Like if you have a Rapid Spin user, you don't want to make that one Rapid Spin user have to do everything, because what happens if they take out that one Rapid Spin user? Then you can't get rid of hazards ever again. You might want to double up and put a Defog user there if you can actually find the room. So being able to cover yourself that way is going to make your team just much more well-rounded and able to deal with pretty much anything most opponents can throw at it. So we've already done 2 of the tips. The last tip is to have good defensive type coverage. Remember how I was talking about having, covering up for weaknesses? You never want to have more than 2 weaknesses to the same type. And that can be kind of hard, like right now, we're not going to be using a Torterra today, but Torterra has weaknesses to flying, it has weaknesses to fire, it has a 4 times weakness to ice. If I were to add one more Pokemon that has ice weakness to this team, I would never ever add a 3rd one, because that means it'd be way too hard to cover it. Making sure you only have 2 weaknesses to singular types is really important. For example, like there's a lot of really good mons that are flying type. Flying types, take super effective damage from like electric attacks and rock attacks. They take big damage from rocks damage. I kind of want to throw that into option 2. Don't build teams that are too weak to stealth rock. Even if you have Defog users, those Defog users are usually flying types. They have to switch into Defog, so it's going to be really hard. You never want to add more than 2 Pokemon with weaknesses to rocks in a team if you can help it. There are situations where that still works, but if you can help it, it's usually a pretty good idea. generally, it's just a good example to not spread yourself too thin. You know, you don't want to have a team that has 4 weaknesses to electric. You don't want to run a Gyarados, Staraptor, freaking like other triple flying team and an Empoleon because one well-timed stabbed electric attack just kind of sweeps your team. So having that good defensive coverage, which we will talk about a little bit later in the video, is the third step. And it's just that easy. Have good lead options, respect hazards by setting them yourself and denying them from your opponent. And then the third one is don't spread yourself too thin with your type defenses, which we will get into a lot more in depth at the end of the video. So if you guys like what you're seeing so far, you know, there's still time to leave the like on this video. There's still time to leave a comment, and there's still time to hit that big subscribe button because I love you guys, and I would appreciate it. Okay, let's get into this. This is how I like to do my team building videos. You can see I have a random box here. I have a bunch of random boxes in general. Now, instead of just having the team already planned out, I like to pick just not random, I already have the order, but I like to pick the order that correctly shows the order that you should be building them in. And that's just kind of how I like to do it. But we're going to start off with respecting the lead options. And like I said, there are multiple different ways to do that. There's intimidators, there's hazard setters, there's Pokemon with U-turns, with taunts. Being aggressive off the first turn of the game is how I personally like to play it. You know, I feel like if you're going to open up with like a lead option that says you just want to rocks, you open yourself to get taunted and then get stealth rocks back. I think that's a losing situation, and I just don't personally like that. So I'm going to go with a little bit more aggressive lead option, and I'm going to be using an Azelf. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be wanting a lot more from this team building guide in terms of like competitive EV training, IV training, breeding movesets. Now, I will say that almost all the Pokemon on this team have like almost perfect IVs. They have good enough IVs for me. They all have the correct natures, and they all have EVs. We're going to take a look at our Azelf right now. And I will say that IVs, EVs, all that stuff are super, super important. You can see we're using a timid Azelf. I had a hard reset for this. I threw my Master Ball at it. And you can see our EV spread. We're rocking full special attack and full speed. You can actually see that it's full investment in both those things because they're shining at the little like speed area and special attack area. That means they're full investment. Now, I also don't want to be one of those people that says you have to go full 252 into 2 different stats. But since this is like the first week of the game, maybe you guys cut me a little slack. I do know that most EV spreads are going to be a little bit more complex than this, but you're never really wrong in looking at your 2 most highest stats and saying, hey, I'm going to put full investment in those. You're never really wrong by doing that. Just want to let you know. But anyways, yeah, EV training, IV training, all that stuff aside, we're going to be talking a little about natures, we're going to be talking about item choices, and we're going to be talking about, the rest of the stuff. I'll show this Azelf's IVs, I guess. That's going to be right here. So when I hard reset for this Azelf, since I knew I was going to sash it anyways, I said I needed to get my speed perfect and I needed to get my special attack perfect. The rest of the stats, they do not really matter as much because I knew I was going to be putting a sash on it. In theory, you would like to be, 5, 6 IV on all your Pokemon. We have other Pokemon on this team that are going to be, that's basically a perfect Pokemon. We're going to be using this one in just a little bit. So we do have perfect Pokemon on this team. It's just really hard to get like legendaries that are like that right now, so cut me a little bit of slack. But what makes Azelf a really good lead option? Well, I think like I talked about, it brings a ton of pressure right off the start. It has a focus sash. I talked about the power of leading with a focus sash from on early because you guarantee have the effect of your sash. They can't set rocks before you get sent out in the first place, so it's a perfect time to guarantee that you're going to get your sash value. Now, what makes Azelf a really good Pokemon? It has a really, really fast, I think it's a 115 base speed, which means you should definitely be going with a plus speed nature. One little disclaimer I want to get out of the way here. In singles, 6v6, you should generally be going with plus speed natures on Pokemon that have around a base 100. Base 100 itself is a really, really popular base speed number. Things like Staraptor, things like Salamence, Zapdos, bunch of mons have right around that base 100. And so if you can, and you have a base 100, you need to be jolly or timid to make it sure that your opponent, doesn't just automatically outspeed you by them going first. A lot of those Pokemon that I mentioned have weaknesses or neutral attacks with against their own weaknesses, like Salamence speed tying each other's, or Zapdos speed tying a Staraptor. You don't want to automatically lose in those situations, so it's unfortunate, but you should be going full speed investment with speed natures on those Pokemon. And that's just kind of how it's always been, and it's not really wrong. You can always take points out and move things around. I don't want to get too in-depth, but it's a good idea to go plus speed nature on Pokemon if they have around or above a base 100 speed, just so you're making sure that your opponent has to respect your correct speed tiering. But anyways, yeah, Timid's really good. Levitate's one of the best abilities in the game. And our Azelf's moveset is going to be Stealth Rock U-turn, Psychic Thunderbolt. I think Psychic is a really, really solid option. It's a stab move. And the reason why I have Thunderbolt here is you're going to see after I flesh out my team, Thunderbolts is really, really good coverage against the Pokemon that this team struggles with, and that's most likely going to be Gyarados. I was also fighting a lot of Pelipper before it was recently banned in OU, so Thunderbolts is really, really good coverage, and you know what, I can U-turn against anything that I don't really want to fight, so I can Stealth Rocks, let them clock my stash, U-turn to be able to come out later, and that's all this Pokemon needs to do. It needs to set rocks, it needs to be a bully, and then just I U-turn out, and then I play the game at my own, my own tempo. I'm gonna look at some of these moves in a little bit more in depth. So Stealth Rocks, I've been talking a lot about Stealth Rocks. So it says the user lays a trap of levitating stones for the whole team. So it's gonna be active all game. Every single time they switch in, they're gonna take that damage. The trap hurts opposing Pokemon every single time they switch in. It's going to do a percentage. It's going to do super effective damage against Pokemon that have weakness against rocks. So it's going to take 25% against Pokemon that have a rocks weakness. And if they have 2 rocks weaknesses, like they're a bug flying type or a fire flying type, they're going to take 50% every single time they switch in. So the way they're going to want to play singles is to set these rocks and get your opponent to take as much damage just from these rocks as possible. Think of this as an actual move, like whenever you're looking at the game. So like let's say you're leading up against, let's think of a Pokemon. Let's say you're fighting against a Gastrodon. You could Psychic that Gastrodon. It would probably do about 60%. Now, in reality, Psychic and Gastrodon would do 60%, but setting your rocks and then having like a 25 turn game where they take damage on every single Pokemon they switch in, which is going to be a guaranteed probably 5 switch-ins because, you know, you knock out the Gastrodon, they have a couple more, maybe they switch one more time. So 12%, maybe one of them's weak against it, 25, 12%. That ends up being a little bit more than 60, even if they don't ever switch. Those are manual switch-ins that have to happen. So the effective value that Stealth Rock gives, the earlier you set it, is going to be really, really high. That's why a lot of people like to set Stealth Rocks first. Now, sometimes there's nothing really wrong with just 2-Koing the Gastrodon, but I want to let you guys know the value of Stealth Rocks and the importance of it early. U-turn is also just a really, really good move. 70 base power. It's great in the Azelf mirror matchup. And even though this is a physical attack on our special attacker, it's still really good because Azelf has a, I think, 115 or 125 base attack stat. It still hits really, really hard, and it can hit the things that Azelf's Psychic is nullified by. So this is how you hit dark types. And it lets you do damage, break focus sashes, and then send out anything you want. You can switch in your Intimidators, you can switch in your walls, and it's going to be really, really good. Azelf basically is like a Swiss Army knife. You lead with Azelf, they have no clue what you're going to do. You could be setting a weather, you could be setting rocks, you could be taunting, you could be using explosion, you could be going for big damage, you could be using a nasty plot. You can do almost anything, and just having an Azelf in your team makes your opponent have to really, really give you a lot of respect in the team preview phase, which is super, super important. So hopefully that answered all your questions about the Azelf. And now the next Pokemon. So we talked about, we have our Stealth Rocks, right? And we're setting our hazards. We don't always have to, but we can. I think it's a pretty good idea to, I'll show you what we're gonna add. We're gonna add a Staraptor. And a reason why I think a Staraptor is another really good option, because remember, our #1 rule was having, multiple lead options. Staraptor was historically one of the more popular leads back in the Gen 4 days. Really, really good mon. I should put an item on this thing. It's a Life Orb. Let's put our Life Orb on it. Even I forget these things sometimes. Oh, did I not get the Life Orb? There it is. I was like, I went all the way up to the top of that mountain to get the Life Orb. You can get the Life Orb at the very entrance of Stark Mountain. But yeah, I think Life Orb's a really good option, and I'll talk about it in a sec. But yeah, Staraptor adds a secondary amazing lead option in being like, well, maybe they have something that super checks Azelf. I can lead with Staraptor, I can intimidate Amon, and then I can U-turn into something else and play the game at my own tempo. So Staraptor, absolutely amazing. U-turn plus Intimidate. Intimidate's one of the best abilities in the game. I know a lot of people like Reckless Staraptor. I personally just really like the Intimidate one because it can just neuter threats, and then you come in with like one mon that has like a good setup move, like a Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, Dragon Dance. After an Intimidate, they can't really do that much, and you get 2 to 3 setup moves and you just sweep the game, especially if you already have rocks up. So Staraptor is going to be a really, really solid choice. We're rocking a Jolly Staraptor, like I said, speed control, cruise control for cool, and we're rocking full attack, full speed, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Another thing I want to talk about is, correct item choices on these Pokemon. Again, this is the very early stages of this game, and I would prefer to use a Choice Scarf here and not use Defog, probably use something else in that situation. But we're rocking a Life Orb today, and I generally think that a Life Orb is a great move to use when you have at least 2, if not 3 moves of different types. Guys, for those who don't know, the Life Orb is a really, really good item in this game. It says it's going to boost the power of each move, but at the cost of HP on each hit. So you get, a 1.3 boost. I can't believe I almost forgot that. A 1.3 boost to all your moves at the cost of 10% of your HP every single turn, every single time you deal damage, right? So that's going to be super, super good. So it makes our close combat hit super hard. It makes our Brave Bird hit even harder. We're also stabbing that. And then the U-turns, they chunk now. So it's a lot of like aggro energy right off the bat. And Again, it makes it so your secondary type moves that aren't stabbed, like U-turn and close combat, still have that big damage associated with them. And a lot of people, unless they kind of scout the Life Orb early, they're not really going to be calcing for that. They're not really going to be prepared for that. Like, for example, a Tyranitar, right? A Tyranitar would be super ready to fight a Staraptor. You weed Staraptor, they weed T-Tar. And Staraptor is obviously going to close combat that T-Tar. They might be holding a Chople Berry to make it so they don't die. They might be EV trained, which is possible on T-Tar, to make it so they don't die the close combat. But what they're not going to be is EV trained to stop the Life Orb close combat, right? And so in that situation, you're taking the slight advantage and using the item to be even, just a little bit more of a bully. So that's just my personal opinion on Staraptor. Again, I really like the Scarf. I also think that having, remember the second tip, which was having like respect for hazards. Yes, I'd like to set rocks with my Azelf, but I'm not going to fodder my Azelf just to get rocks. Like, I'd rather not. I'd rather just save the Azelf and be a sweeper mid to late game. I'd rather U-turn out, break their potential sash, play the game at my own tempo, bring out Azelf, and then get like 2 to 3 KOs with it before it gets KO'd, then just set rocks. I have other rock setters I'll talk about in a sec. So sometimes it might be a good idea to use Defog, and I talked a lot about Defog, and so having the ability to make sure you don't automatically just lose to like hazards is really good. A strong wind blows away the target's barriers, it also blows away like screens and stuff like that. It's really good. It's really, really good. It blows away screens, it blows away hazards. And people definitely sleep on Defog, and very, very underrated move. And if you can fit it onto a team, it's very, very smart. Being able to like U-turn or bring in a Staraptor, intimidate something, force them to switch, you get a free Defog, gets rid of their hazards. You can even then send out your hazard setters again and set new hazards and just get rid of all of theirs. So it's a very, very good Pokemon, and Defog's just a free move choice in that situation, so it works. The next Pokemon, remember how I talked about doubling up on your strengths, right? What are some of our strengths? And I have solid lead options, and we have Intimidate. I want to double up on that Intimidate. I'm going to be adding a Gyarados to my team. And our Gyarados set, we're going to take a look at it right here. So we're rocking a Jolly Gyarados. And note that we're rocking a Leftovers on this Gyarados. Now, I don't really think Leftovers is a terrible item on Gyarados. Gyarados has great natural bulk. We're adding 2 Intimidators, so we're going to be like leading with Staraptor, intimidating, U-turn, bringing in our Gyarados, second Intimidate on a physical Mon. If that Mon's something that's like weak, like a rock setter, even if they have like a super effective rock attack, the fact that they're double intimidated means their attack's gonna be so low it's not gonna do that much damage to us. We can set up 2 or 3 Dragon Dances, get the big boosts, and just win the game from there. We can also taunt those Pokemon so they can't use status moves against us with our Gyarados set, and we can Earthquake anything that would resist the water attacks. So one thing that I always like to do on my teams, I just want to talk about this. I always like to put my status moves up here, and then the stronger I go down, that's the stronger my moves are. So like Waterfall, you see it's 80, Earthquake's 100, Waterfall's going to be stabbed, so it's going to go to 120, it's going to get a 1.5 power boost. That's just how I personally like to make my teams. But yeah, I do think Leftovers is a solid item on Gyarados. I think where we are right now in the meta, we're seeing a lot of Luxray, we're seeing a lot of Intimidate users, obviously I'm using 2. And you can cycle those Intimidate users. If you ever have 2, you can always just switch out to all the Intimidate users if there's no rocks up, and basically just PP out your opponent's Dragon Dances if they have just a move that single boosts their attack, like a Work Up or a Dragon Dance or a Power Up Punch or something. You can just cycle those things in all you want and just be in a really, really good spot. And so they just can't really steamroll you out of that. And eventually you let them KO 1, come in and get an extra Intimidate, and then they're at -1 from there. So that's a little bit of an advanced technique. We talked about it in a video just the other day. But yeah, I really like the double Intimidate core. I really think Gyarados is great. And what was I really talking about? Yeah, the item that I would use instead of Leftovers. I think Leftovers is great on Gyarados. I think Citrus is also pretty good if you're playing like a 3v3 or like Battle Tower setup. But I think the best item for Gyarados right now is probably a White Herb, because there's so many Intimidate users. A lot of people are switching to Luxray. You get like 1 Dragon Dance off, and then they bring in their Luxray. They bring in their Luxray on the switch that you Dragon Dance on, and they get the Intimidate up, and they are trying to scare you away. Well, if you have White Herb, it would ignore the Intimidate, and the fact you got +1, you can kill the Luxray with an Earthquake. And so I personally think, because there's so many Luxrays, if you have a White Herb already, go for it, go nuts. I think it's going to win you a lot of games. But Leftovers is a solid item as well. It makes it so you can pivot a little bit more, make Gyarados a little bit more of a bulky option. Again, we're going to look at our EV spread for this Gyarados. We're rocking the same 252 cruise control for cool. I want to talk about, you have to be jolly with this Gyarados. It's an 81 base speed Pokemon, which means if you get +2 with Dragon Dance, you're going to be outspeeding 130s. Now, there's 2 really, really big 130s in this game. There's 3 total. There's Crobat, but the 2 that you're going to be really, really needing to outspeed are going to be Jolteon and Aerodactyl, 2 Pokemon that have super effective moves against you. So it's going to be super, super important that your Gyarados can outspeed those things at +2. An Adamant Gyarados cannot, while a Jolly Gyarados can. So Gyarados, if you're ever going to put like any points in speed, always make it Jolly so you don't automatically lose to those Pokemon. And it's really, really important. So let's take a look at our team. We have Azel, we have Straptor, we have Gyarados, right? What are some obvious weaknesses that we have? We have some big weaknesses to the electric type. That's right. We have some big weaknesses to rocks as well. So we're going to be trying to add a Pokemon that takes less damage from rocks and electric types. And we're going to add a Pokemon that can get rid of rocks. That'd be a really, really good idea. I'm sure you can tell where we're going. We're going to be adding up a Donphan. Now, Donphan is a ground type. It's super, super good in this gen, in my opinion. It gets a little bit of a buff. And so, again, remember I talked about you want to, like, double up on your strengths? So we're doubling up on our Stealth Rock users. You can see our Donphan has Stealth Rock. We're doubling up with Rapid Spin, complementing our Defog. So we have 2 ways to get rid of hazards now. And we've also added a Pokemon that, it's a ground type, right? So we don't have to worry about the electric attacks as much. So Donphan's just going to be a really, really good option. A lot of people are probably going to think that we're going to lead Donphan. So if we think they're going to try and counter our Donphan early with like a big special attacker or a taunt user, we can, pin that right off the first turn of the game. I don't know if you guys can hear that. That's, can you guys hear that? I was, like a tea kettle going off. Anyways. Yeah, Donphan's great. I love Donphan, and I think it's really, really good. It has Sturdy in this game. We're rocking an Adamant Donphan set. We have like a 4 IV Donphan. I mean, I wish I could get that 5 IV one. It took me a long time to get it, but it's not really the end of the world. And let's just take a look at our Donphan here. We're rocking an Adamant Donphan, and this is just the one that I had. It took me a long time to get this one in general. But Sturdy's another really good ability. It says it cannot be knocked out with 1 hit. 1 KO moves cannot knock it out either. So what you could always use this Donphan for, if your opponent gets to like +6 with like a Dragon Dance, or they're super set up, or you are definitely losing because they have too many stat boosts from something, or they get like a sub up and you're really behind, you can always send out this Donphan and just go for a Roar. Roar is going to be able to phase out those Pokemon, and they cannot one-shot you because of your Sturdy. So it's going to be really good. This thing is the total package for this team. It's a great defensive wall. Another thing, like the Phantom 4th tip, is to have like 1 big physical wall at least. If you can double up on them, and then 1 big special wall. So Donphan's going to be our physical wall. It's a Pokemon that will not die to physical attacks if you switch it in after an Intimidate. Like you will live through like anything. And it's just a really, really good defensive option for this team. You have Earthquake if you need it. Rapid Spin is able to get away your opponent's hazards. And if they ever want to like play the game, or like people are like, so you can't hit flying types with this. Well, flying types are weak against rocks, so you can just roar against those, and you're just good to go. So like what you're going to want to do with this Donphan is just send it out, use Stealth Rocks. You can Earthquake the things that need to get Earthquaked. You have a lot of attack. And you can just roar basically every single turn. Because if they ever switch to something to pivot to beat the Donphan, they take rocks damage, and that turn you roar, you get another set of Stealth Rocks damage. So play the long game with this guy. It's going to be very, very valuable. Our EV spread, easy peasy. Again, HP defense. We looked at our 2 highest stats basically and just maxed them out. Obviously, this Donphan, if you're going to build the perfect competitive set, you could have just a little bit of speed, you could have a little bit of speed depth, just a little bit of attack if you wanted to make it, absolutely perfect. But there's nothing wrong with going full HP defense for now. The next Pokemon, remember how I was talking about we need a special wall, we need something to soak some special attacks. What are some of our weaknesses? Yeah, we still have the electric weakness. Yeah, we have a couple ice weaknesses now. Yeah, so we have some ice weaknesses. We have a water weakness on Donphan. That's pretty glaring. What is it? We also have weaknesses like Dark and Ghost. We do have Straptor, which has the normal type nullify Ghost attacks, but we want to switch in a Pokemon that can block a lot of those special attacks. So Dark attack, Ghost attack, Electric attack, Ice attack. You're starting to see our defensive typing on a Rotom Wash tends to be pretty good. These IVs on this Rotom are terrible. I apologize. But we're re-rocking a Rotom Wash here, and I also want to apologize. I thought that I had the Will-O-Wisp TM, and it looks like Will-O-Wisp TM is a TR that you have to get by, it's like 30 battle points. I just don't have those right now. So just think that the Thunder Wave is a Will-O-Wisp, and Confuse Ray was supposed to be something else as well, but again, I don't have the TR. And, the game's only been out for a couple days. Cut me some slack. This totally works. Also, doing what you can with what you have is never wrong. Again, let's take a look at this Rotom and explain why Rotom is such a good Pokemon in this team. Rotom, going to be full HP Special D. And it's going to have leftovers. Rotom's super, super bulky. And its typing of an electric water type with Levitate means it basically just resists all the types that we, talked about being problematic. Electric, Ice, Dark, Ghost, those are usually all special attacks. Whenever you're thinking about what types of attack you should block, like for example, let's say you have a Pokemon that is weak against fighting attacks, right? But if that Pokemon has freaking absurd crazy amounts of defense, like a Stakataka from Gen 7 or Gen 8, it doesn't really matter that much. It's only really like, you don't, what I'm trying to say is you don't need to be afraid of like fighting special attacks because they're not as common. You know, everyone's going to say, what about Aura Sphere? Well, you know, like the one Pokemon that gets that's Lucario, right? So just counter Lucario, don't counter the Aura Sphere. Anyways, in general, all those attacks I mentioned are going to be usually special attacks, usually. And so Rotom can just switch in on those, get leftovers ticks, put up a Thunder Wave to apply some speed control, and then just Volt Switch out. Just a really, really good set. I wish I had options for Will-O-Wisp here. It was supposed to be like a Light Screen Will-O-Wisp was supposed to be the last couple sets, and I decided to make do with what I had. Just put up a Thunder Wave, put up a Confused Red, Volt Switch out, and you know, I also wanted to put Defog on Rotom because it used to have Defog back in the day, but Rotom does not get Defog anymore, which I actually think is balanced because this will be by far and away the best Defog user in the format. I talked about Defog basically being really, really good, but you know, all the flying types that get it all have weaknesses to rock, so they have to switch in, and since there's no heavy duty boots, they have to take that first tick of rocks damage. Rotom doesn't because it's neutral to Rotom, so it only takes 12.5, which is really, really good. Rotom's great. I think Rotom's an absolutely amazing Pokemon. Basically, so what I'm going to want to do with this team is I'm going to set rocks, send out an Intimidator, U-turn / hard switch to Rotom to soak damage, apply speed control, Volt Switch out, back to my Intimidator, double Intimidate, pin them, force them to switch. They take more rocks damage. On those switch, I can then either U-turn or set up, and then I can just basically repeat that same cycle for the next 5 to 6 turns. You switch, you take rocks damage, I switch, I mitigate damage, I repin you, and just rinse and repeat those 4 turns over and over and over again. And, you know, that might sound boring, but it's a little bit harder to set up than you might think. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed that, like, the team is missing its last Pokemon. What do you guys think is a good last Pokemon here? We got a lot of Pokemon on this page. Could it be Tropius? Tropius is coming to a video relatively soon. It's not going to be Tropius because we already have 2 big weaknesses to Ice. And remember, the third tip, right, is no more, like, do not go into the 3 weaknesses. You only want to have 2 weaknesses per team. So, like, right now, we have 2 weaknesses to Grass. We have Rotom and Domfam. We have 2 weaknesses to Electric, Straptor, Gyarados. We have 2 weaknesses to Rocks, Straptor, Gyarados again. So we don't want to go any more into any of those weird weaknesses. And so, you know, people are probably saying like, oh, you could use Garchomp. Nope, Ice weakness. Houndoom. Nope, you'd be weak to Rock there, right? So I really do think the last Pokemon that we're going to be adding to this team is going to be Zangoose. And I think Zangoose, you've seen me use it recently. Zangoose is pretty good. If I were to change this Zangoose to something, I'd make it a Lucario. Because basically, the Zangoose has the exact same playstyle as Lucario. It's going to be a Sashmon. You see I'm using a naive one because it's just what I have from in-game. But in reality, we're using a Sash, and all we really care about is a plus speed nature on this thing. Again, you can kind of tell your Ivies do not matter as much. And your EVs don't matter nearly as much when you're rocking a Sash because basically you're planning on getting basically one-shotted off that anyways. Obviously, they still do matter, but in this very early stage in the game, I promise you, you're not like behind, you're not being slighted, you're not playing at that big of a disadvantage by not having them. But yeah, Zangoose is a great mon. I'd like this to be a Lucario. You can see how Lucario would play very similar. Swords Dance, it'd have E-Speed over Quick Attack. It would have probably like a Meteor Mash / Earthquake, and then like a close combat right there. So Zangoose is a great option. I really like Zangoose though. One cool thing about Zangoose, similar to Lucario, note that I said they're very, very similar. Zangoose has immunity, which means it cannot be poisoned, just like Lucario cannot be poisoned because it's a steel type. So I also think like a Phantom 5th tip is try to make one Pokemon unable to be toxic. That's pretty good. So have a poison type on your team, have a steel type on your team, have a Pokemon with immunity on your team, or a Pokemon that has like Heal Bell or Aromatherapy to be able to get rid of those statuses. Just because Toxic Stallers are pretty big, and you're gonna every once in a while see Toxic Stallers where their only way to deal damage is the Toxic. Like they have Toxic, Protect, Sub, and like some move that's useless, right? So yeah, Zangoose can be a really, really good mon in those situations. And it's a great pivot mon too. Like if I ever want to U-turn in, I have 2 U-turn mons and a Volt Switch mon. If I ever play my cards right and I get my Zangoose in at just the right time, and I force them to switch, they're going to switch, they're going to take more Stealth Rocks damage. I'm going to Swords Dance on their switch, and I'm going to sweep their team. Super, super easy peasy lemon squeezy. I also think it's a good idea to have a couple potential priority moves, just in case your opponent gets to like +6, and they're like at 1 HP from like a Sash or something. Like the situation I just set up, I would clock damage with my Zangoose, be at 1, get to like +2 or +4, and then sweep. You know, one way that they could beat me is by sending out something faster than me and using a priority move. And so having your own priority moves is a way to lock that up. So, you know, I've been talking for a little bit. You know, again, there's still time to like this video if you haven't. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for watching this far. We're not done yet, though. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this team into a game and see how it does. And hopefully it performs exactly the same way that I talked about in this little guide. So, you know, join me as we go, hop right into it. I will say the last little thing to note is, again, we're looking at EV spreads. Our Zangoose is obviously full speed, full attack. But that's about it. Let's go right on into the games and see how this team does in an actual competitive battle. All right, here we are. Let's play the game. 6v6 singles battle in the Union Room using the team I just made. And I also want to talk about, like, there is no item clause. We're playing a little bit more of like a smog on singles. So there is no item clause. I guess I wanted to talk about that. Like, we are using multiple leftovers, multiple stashes. And I love that, like, that's a really balanced part of this game in my opinion. Let's see, though. Remember, everything's going to get scaled down to level 50. We talked about the power of multiple lead options, right? So if we were to lead Azelf, they would lead Houndoom. We don't have that many good switch-ins. I guess we could switch into Rotom, and they don't have that many mons that can deal with Rotom. So, like, I think I will still lead with the Azelf. And if they wanted to lead with Honchkrow, we can just intimidate it. Yeah, I like that. We just intimidate the Honchkrow, switch to Staraptor, and then repivot out after setting rocks or something. I could also just lead Donphan. You know, I could just lead Donphan. I don't want to get taunted. I talked about that. I don't like getting taunted. And, you know, Honchkrow is definitely something that could outspeed Donphan, check our Donphan, and carry taunt. Like, it would be really bad if, like, I led Donphan, they go, like, taunt my rocks and then, like, stealth, or was a Swords Dance on me or something. That'd be really, really not great. So, we do see the Honchkrow here. Do I really, what do I actually want to do here? I have to play around, like, Scarf and stuff like that, too. There's so many different things that could happen here. As it gets priority moves, you get Scarf. Do I just want to U-turn out? Because I'd be scouting for leftovers that way. I think I'm just going to set my rocks. I don't really have a problem with rocks here. Yeah, rocks are fine. Rocks are fine. Night Slash. All right. So this is going to be a weird situation to be in. I don't want them setting up on my U-turn or my switch. And I don't think I need the Azelf, right? I don't think I need it. So, like, if I were to U-turn here and use Swords Dance, bad for me. If I were to Thunderbolt here, I'd keep you honest. And so, I think I'm going to do this. And if they have Sucker Punch, they can Sucker Punch me. Hey, go for it. That's the right play. I'm not even mad. See? Playing against good players already. Oh, and the critical hit. Yo, you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. But we are going to be in a great spot here. We are going to be in an absolutely great spot. Remember what I talked about. We're able to come in with our Gyarados, get a massive Intimidate, and just be a really big bully. I'm actually going to come in with Staraptor. I actually don't want to take... Let's just send the Rotom out. I think Rotom's fine. No, they'd switch into Pachi, probably. Gyarados is okay. As long as we don't get crit by Night Slash, I think we're just in a great spot here. I think we're in a great spot. I wonder what they're going to switch to. The Barrel? Maybe? I'll just go for Dragon Dance. They might Night Slash me or something. I wouldn't be surprised to see Night Slash. And remember, that Intimidate's going to be absolutely, massively valuable. Honchkrow underrated. Gets a crit. Survey says, what do you got, Chief? Oh my goodness. So the value of leftovers. That's the crit right there. Oh my gosh. Yo, the super luck. Alright, I'm going to go for the big damage here. Hey, you know what? They're playing their outs. Honchkrow's a good mon. Alright, let's see if they want to Sucker. No, they're gonna try Night Slash crit me again. They think they can eat it. They ain't eating this. I'm fully EV trained. I'm a big boy now. And so this is where I talked a little bit about, like, the Citrus Berry being, you know, a great item to have there. You know, I could have just safely Swords Danced again in that, Dragon Danced again in that situation if I had the Citrus. The leftovers, though, you get leftovers procs after you KO things. So it's really, really good. If I'm just able to continually KO things for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns of the game, I'm gonna be great. So Pachi's gonna come in. Pachi's gonna take those rocks, like I said. And this is where I talked about it, like those electric types. This is going to be a lot stronger than the waterfall. It's going to be 200 base power because it's super effective. Rocking the massive big EQ, baby. Let's go. Sejun Park, not today, not in my house. You know, I actually heard Sejun Park beat the game with the team of Pachi Risus. Shout out to him. 2014 VGC World Champion. And again, leftovers value. Get that restoration every single turn. But let's see what else we got. I don't know if they can beat this. Tort? Alright, that's fine. Tort might be able to eat it. Rocks damage are good. His name is Fatherland. I thought it was named Farfetch for a sec. Yo, let's go! Waterfall! Thick, no flinch. Leech Seed. Alright, so because they got the seed up here, I'll just switch out. I think. I think that's probably fine. I know there's a lot of people that are, like, saying, like, this game's cool, but, like, the timer. What about the timer? The timer's so lame. And, like, I haven't had a single game go to time. Maybe it's just because I play really aggressive, but, like, I haven't had a single game go to time yet. I haven't even seen the timer message pop up. For all I know, it's not in the game, even though I know it's in the game. All right, let's see what I want to switch to. We could switch to Rotom because Pachi's gone. We could switch to Donphan. We could switch to Staraptor. I think Staraptor is probably the best choice. And then we'll U-turn out. It's going to be a Life Orb boosted U-turn, so it's going to do a lot of damage. For some reason, I think my webcam is just being really sad right now. Let's fix the webcam. Did it work? 1, 2, 3? All right, we're good. I think. Are they switch? Yo, the hard switch! The plays for days, but peril! Oh, man. Take those rocks damage. And the Void are Intimidate, right? That's fine. CC, baby! Let's go! Let's go! But you can see all the pins that we have. It's just, like, absolutely perfect. Staraptor is so good! It just feels right using Staraptor. But the Pachi's down. Like, what's switching in on this? We're orbed, too. Like, we deal the DPS. Houndoom! Not in my house, Houndoom. That big rocks damage. It's important. Look at that. So that's that 25% right there. Big weakness. And we show our Life Orb here. One thing I really like about this format, I've talked about it before. When you see the item choice in your opponent by whether, like, you know, maybe they take chip damage or something. When you see whether if they have leftovers, don't have leftovers, we're seeing that, you know, our Staraptor shows right now that it doesn't have, like, a choice scarf or something because it's showing, like, its Life Orb. So it's showing it doesn't have Scarf, it doesn't have Sash, it doesn't have leftovers. There's not that many other items that, like, obviously we're obviously showing that we are Life Orb, but there's not that many other things that our team could realistically be doing. I think I'm just going to close combat here again. It's fine. At this point, we're so ahead. Like, we're just showing a little bit more about our team comp by showing that we're Life Orbed. But, I mean, it's just cool that you can use that same tactic against, like, your opponents as well. Bronzong should be able to get the KO. Gyro probably KOs here. Let's go. Iron D. Oh! Oh, you be wanting this, huh? My Azelf's down. I still have Rotom, so Rotom should be fine versus Bronzong and the big lefties, so they know what they're doing. They know what they're about. Good thing it doesn't have body press. I'm just gonna close combat again. I'm gonna crit this time, watch. Survey says... Not today, holy moly. That's a thick guy. I know it has the iron defense now, but that's a thick guy. And let's see it. Psychic. Alright, not bad. I should be down. Down for the count. Staraptor down. And what do we got next? And I think that people are like, you're losing bonds. You know that, right? You're not. I think it's funny how people think you have to win every single game with like a 6-0. Where like you totally don't have to win every game with a 6-0. That's not like. Basically, I maintained advantage, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna maintain advantage all the way till the cows come home. I basically just have enough more mons than them, and so I can trade. I can take those cost-ineffective trades, just because I know the value. You know, they should be able to KO here. Gee. Oh, thickness. That dummy thickness. Man, Bronzong, man, that iron defense, that's good. Probably, and so in that situation, I should have Swords Danced. Anytime you would have had to like Swords Dance and then KO, instead of just hitting with 2, you should always like Swords Dance so you can end after it's gone with the Swords Dance. Let's see if they're not gonna switch. Not really worth it to switch. You just gotta fire your Bronzong, because like, I mean, do you? Torterra can't really switch in on this. Yeah, let's see what they want. Switching out the Zong, huh? Switching out the boy. Okay, barrel. Alright, well, hey, good tech right here. They're like, I am a normal type. Alright, I'll show you normal type. I'll show you what a normal type looks like. They got the Aqua Jet. Does that thing get Aqua Jet? Am I respecting that Pokemon correctly? Nope. Yeah, yeet. Let's go. Alright, we take those. Yo, there's my crit. I knew it was there somewhere. Alright. And so they have, I think they still have the Torterra and the Bronzong, and that's probably it. And we're going to take the wins. And it's just that easy. You guys can, you know, do the exact same thing that, you know, you can basically just follow this flowchart and use this team to your heart's content. I think close combat might KO. It might not. There's no way that the Bronzong comes back from here, though. Yo, CC! And CC, close combat is, oh, hanging on by a thread. Good job, Torterra. Close combat's basically the same base power as all Zangoose' normal moves it could get. Like a strength would be an 80 base power move. Thanks to stab, it would go up to 120, which is exactly the same as close combat. Hey, but good for them. Good for them. You know, we don't even need to use this Rotom. I think Rotom would be the only way we would lose. We send out Rotom, we go for a Hydro Pump, we miss the Hydro Pump, and then like they leech seed us, and then we miss another hydro pump, and oh my gosh, that'd be the worst situation to ever be in the history of my life. I'm just gonna send the Gyarados, and then we'll just go waterfall, waterfall, and we got it. Easy peasy. But close enough game. And I think people are still gonna be catching up. Like I obviously have like you know, EV trained mods and stuff like that. People are gonna be catching up. It's going to take people a little bit. If you guys want to play battles against other members of our community like I'm doing right now, think about using our code. It's going to be 88898889. You can also join our Discord. There's a link to our Discord in the description of this video where you can talk to your opponents, you can trade with people, you can complete your Pokédex, you can ask questions about your team, you can ask questions about just the game in general. And yeah, we have a pretty good time. Thank you guys for watching this video again. I know I'm like closing the video a little bit early, but you know, just trying to fill the void here. But thank you guys for watching my content. You know, every single time a new Pokemon game comes out, it's a ton of work for us YouTubers, and you know, the biggest thanks for me personally is people just watching the comment or watching the video, leaving the comments, interacting with the videos. Like that's my favorite thing, is like waking up and seeing all you guys' wonderful comments. So let me know if you guys want to see more team building videos like this. If you do, leave a comment. If not, leave a comment and let me know what I did wrong so I can make the next one better. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.